Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I'm still a medical doctor, simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. My guest this week is Paul Glancey. Paul is third act actor, self-described third act actor. He had a career in education. He was a math teacher. Then he went to chiropractic school and is a chiropractor, still actively practicing as a chiropractor, and is now an actor. And he has one of those cool acting origin stories where he had a buddy who worked on set. The set was like, dang, we need a tall actor with long hair. We don't know anyone. His buddy goes, hey, I know someone. And that is how Paul got his first acting role and was sitting there on set going, dang, I like this so much. He's an incredible guy who also has a really interesting past with high level performance in sport, so boxing and basketball as well too. We have an incredible conversation about how he interweaves all of his incredible life experiences into now his acting career. He's also the chiropractor for the current show The Lion King here in Toronto, which is really cool. Such a unique job that he has. We obviously talk about that. But yeah, fascinating human being who honestly I've been wanting to have on my show for a long time. So I'm so thrilled that this episode is finally airing. Please enjoy Paul Glancey. Tell me your story. How did you get into this crazy business?
Yeah, okay. So I mean, I'm technically, I know we spoke about this earlier. I'm technically a third act actor. I did a Bachelor of Science in biology and a minor in political science, so nothing to do with acting at all. Um, and then I got a Bachelor of Education, taught for 2 years back in Nova Scotia, where I'm from, and then didn't like it. I was teaching, and like I didn't like the. I actually liked the actual act of teaching and working with the kids and stuff. But at the time, I didn't. It was really long to get a job. I think in Nova Scotia at the time, the projections to get your first full time job were like between 7 and 10 years. You could supply teach and you could do all that stuff and actually like work, but like your first full time permanent job was really long. Uh, and I didn't love all the take home work. Like when when you're a teacher, you're always a teacher, right? Like you're always correcting stuff. You're always like preparing for the next day. Um, but then yeah, I didn't like it. I went back to school for chiropractic. And now I'm a chiropractor slash actor slash stunt performer. um, yeah, but I mean, even though like we're just talking about jobs and stuff right now, but even my first act also had a lot of pretty high level athletic endeavors. Like I played university basketball for a couple of years, and I was a very high level boxer as well. So that's like all these things kind of uh, completely unrelated to acting, like completely unrelated. And then we spoke about this before, but I graduated Cairo School in 2020, the pandemic, right at the beginning. Actually, our second placement was cut short because that's like it was during the pandemic. Like I was at St. Mike's Hospital at the time, and then we were like, "Oh, this thing's coming. Like it's probably going to shut us down." Blah blah blah. Got shut down. Um, and then when it came time to write our board exams, it all got delayed. Like we couldn't do anything because we couldn't be in the big space together. We couldn't, it just wasn't possible. And then a friend of mine who works in the entertainment industry, he works in film. He's an editor. He actually edits all the trailers at the Review Cinema. Yeah, yeah. Nathan Boone's his name. He's a great guy. One of my oldest friends. Like I met him when we were like 2 years old or something back in my hometown. He was he was working on this show called Dark Side of the Ring, not as an editor, but as the on-site stills photographer to, for all the promotional material and stuff. And his photos are awesome. He's shot a couple of my headshots as well. Um, but he was talking to the casting director on set, and he was like, "Man, it's so hard to find tall actors with long hair." And then at the time, I had hair like down to here, like really long. And then my friend was like, "I know a guy." And then I literally did a little Zoom call with the casting director, got the part. The rest is history. Fell in love with it on set, which is crazy. Yeah.
Did you ever, like growing up, did you ever do any acting or any theater or anything performative?
Not really. Like it's always like now that I'm thinking about it and now that I'm doing this, it's always kind of been in the background. Like being from a small town on the East Coast, like the arts are it's big there, but it's not like big professionally. At
Mm.
least when I was growing up. Like there's always music. Music is a huge influence on, everything out there. But like, thinking back like in middle school or like junior high, one of the years early on, we did like a monologue in class. And this might not even be true. Like, who knows? Like, memories, like, funny sometimes. But I was like, I remember like them being like, oh, that was really good. And I ended up like doing it in front of the other class. So like, that was kind of like a cool little acting thing that I'm thinking about. Um, I was in an episode of Pit Pony when I was a
Pit.
really like the
Mm.
Pit Pony. And I was really young. I think I was at like 11 or 12. Our baseball team got asked to be like the other baseball team, like the extras on the other team. So I was on a big set, but like, you know, other than that, there hasn't really been any desire to act until I actually did it.
Mm.
Like it's very weird. Like I was in a band in high school, so like there's been a performative aspect of things. Like I love performing and stuff like that. But as for acting specifically, it's pretty strange that like it was never like it's kind of been there, but it hasn't really. There wasn't any desire to do it until it happened,
Hmm.
which is
It's
fun.
interesting because like teaching is quite performative, right?
It
Like
is, yeah.
you're literally on stage in front of an audience who doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, which is a little bit different than performing people who want to see you.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess that did kind of. I've never really been someone like I'm definitely an introvert for sure, but I've never been someone who's shied away from public speaking or anything like that. So, but I guess teaching, kind of did prepare you in a little bit for that. Like,
Hmm.
every day you are kind of performing, I guess. I did teach math for the most part, so there's very little performing in math teaching, but yeah, I mean, absolutely, it's all related. I guess it kind of all builds towards building the skill set that makes us kind of unique in the acting field of people who've had a whole life or two whole lives or three whole lives before getting in
Hmm.
front of the camera on stage.
Yeah. Do you find like from your other acts, have you brought anything now into your acting career from those other jobs?
For sure. I mean, I'll talk about one thing that I brought that I talk about this quite regularly with lots of people, and it's from boxing actually. So I box, like I said, at a relatively high level, and one of the, if not the most like scariest thing in the world is doing that, is walking up the stairs, getting into a ring, looking across at somebody who's trained to do exactly what you're trained to do, which is beat you up. Right? Like it's intimidating for sure. And like right up until like the hardest part about it though is walking up those four steps to get into the ring, right? And right up until you get into the ring, there was always this thing in my head where it was like, oh, maybe it won't happen. Like maybe, he'll get sick or he won't show up. And then you kind of go through this thing. Is only other time I felt this feeling is with acting and auditioning, where like it's a scary thing, but you ultimately end up reaching this moment where it's like, okay, I'm just gonna do it,
Hmm.
right? Like I mean, there's all this build up, all this tension, and then like you walk up into the ring, you see the person, it's like, okay, big breath, here we go, and then it's like that kind of that ability to deal with that stress. And I mean, in the ring, it's real stress. Like it's you're gonna get punched, you could get knocked out, like you're gonna get beat up if you lose. But in acting, it's like, it's your stress is sure it's you know relevant and well placed, but it's not nearly as stressful when you think about it, um, objectively, where it's like, oh, if I don't do what I want to do, it's like, okay, like see you next time. Like there's no getting like punched in the face or anything like that. Um, But there's two things from boxing. That's one, it's kind of that audition readiness and just willingness to accept um, uneasy situations and kind of go with it. But the one that I think is even more prevalent is the mindset of kind of prep and forget. Because
Mm.
when you're in the ring, and people talk about that with acting all the time, right? They talk about, oh, do your prep, and then when you get in front of the camera or you get on the stage, you got to forget it and go with your instincts and all that stuff. That's a very common theme in acting. And in boxing, it's the same thing. Like, you do all this prep, you hone your skills, and you get in the ring, and it's not like, you're there and it's like, oh, if he does this, I do this. If he does this, I do this. It's like, you just hope your instincts take over. Like, you hope
Hmm.
that the prep that you've done and all the work that you've put into it yields the result that you want, which is the same thing as acting. And again, it's in a different level of stakes, but that muscle has been worked my whole life. Like, I boxed since I was 6 years old,
Hmm.
right? So like my whole life, that thing has been always there and rolling over, which absolutely helps with acting and those two aspects of it for sure.
Mhm. It's a weird kind of blind faith, hey? Which
Mm.
when I think about, like when you were describing that, when I think about just any job, right, that requires some type of training, which
Hmm.
almost every job does, right? Like you kind of are going into it being like, yeah, I know how to be a doctor, I know how to be a chiropractor because I've done this training, and I'm going to rely on that training when I'm in clinic seeing patients to like back me up here, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a weird thing that I didn't really clock about acting, that like no, like you can rely on your training to carry you hopefully through this. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to think about why do I not feel like it's the same? And I wonder if it's because it's not like formal training. Like I don't get a
Yeah,
certificate that says congratulations, you may now be an actor, you're licensed.
yeah,
I don't know, there's a weird brain block that I go like, no, 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 you haven't done enough. You can't rely on that.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's everybody. It is weird in that, like you said, there's no certification, but there's also like, in order to get good at it, you have to do it, right? Like you have to. You can't learn and then do it. But it's the same with practicing. It's the same with any job, and that's something that I've learned. Kind of going from the education side of things, being like in university or in school, and then what you bring to the profession. I did that 2 times before I became an actor, and there's so much that you need to learn but you don't use,
Hmm.
if that makes sense, right? Like you kind of, because it depends on where you end up working, what field you end up practicing in, what thing you end up doing. Where like school is something where you have to like you have to get good grades, you got to pass through whatever. But then what you actually bring to your job is very different. Experience matters way more than almost anything, I think. And with acting, that's just amplified, right?
Hmm.
Because you don't need you don't need a certification. You just go and you like you train, you work hard, you try to get people to hire you until you get enough of those things to get an agent, and your agent does that. But then you're always working and always like, for me anyway, like I had that same thought that you're having, but for me it helps to kind of just let go of it and be
Hmm.
like who cares? Like you're acting, you're an actor, you're working, and then things will happen. Just keep training. Training's fun, like acting's fun. Like I don't know, it's weird. And that's probably comes from the uh the traditional schooling route that
Hmm.
we've
Hmm.
taken, right? Like it's that need for, oh no, I need something to tell me that I can do it. It's like, but the reality is like it doesn't exist because it can't exist. Like there's roles that I would be great at that you wouldn't be great at, and vice versa. Obviously, we're completely different. But even people who look like me, there are roles that they'd be good at that I wouldn't be, and vice versa. So like it's so subjective, and the subjectivity of it is not going away. It's there. You just kind of have to accept that it's there and just do it in a weird
Hmm.
way. Like
Hmm.
keep training, and then hopefully it happens.
It's interesting you say that, right? Like it's,
Yeah.
anyone can be an actor.
Hmm.
Anyone can be in anything, right? If you just believe. But like, you know what I mean? Like anyone
Yeah.
can be an actor, sure. You always hear these stories of like people being plucked from obscurity and all that
Hmm.
stuff. But you're right, like there is, yes, anyone can be an actor, but not everyone can play every role because of how subjective the industry is.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when I talk to people who went to say theater school, where in theater school anyone can play any role because you're being
Hmm.
introduced to like Chekhov and Shakespeare, and they're like, yes, we're going to gender bend these characters, we're going to have, I just saw an advertisement for like our production of Annie is going to be all adults, right? Like, wow. But when you actually get into the entertainment industry, like the business of it, they're like, nope, we very much are looking for this
Hmm.
specific type of look.
Yeah.
And so when people come out of theater school and they're like, what do you mean I'm not going to be like immediately doing the greats? I'm going to be auditioning for Taco Bell, and even I'm not good enough for that.
Yeah.
I think it's a weird kind of like shocked awakening to the actual business side of the industry.
For sure.
Yeah.
100%.
So I want take me back to when you got the role in Dark Side of the Ring.
Mhm.
What was it about acting that you just loved?
Um, I loved the creativity of it. How it was freeing. It was like in my mind, and it kind of is that now, but in my mind before I started doing it, I was like, I could do that as long as I can let go on camera. As long as like I could like not be self-conscious having a camera in my face. Like if I could just like, do what normal people do and not like think that there's a camera there, like I'd be able to do it. But with Dark Side of the Ring specifically, it's such a great intro. And all those docu-series shows are a great intro. But like cuz you can't really tell it's me unless I tell you it's me because it's all like blurred and it's, kind of the lights are awesome and it's very artistic and the people I work with on that set were awesome too. Like the directors like Jason Eisner, Andy Appel, like those guys were so fun to work with and like that helps immensely. Like I remember having this moment when I was on set and it was for the plane ride from hell episode. I forget what season it's in. But we were sitting on this like really cool set of a plane. Like it was like half a plane. We were just sitting there and like they're like setting everything up and they were talking to one actress who's about to perform one thing. And I remember having this moment. I was like, shit. I love this. This is so cool. This is so fun. And I just spent so much money with like two separate degrees, and I haven't even started this second one. What the heck am I going to do? And I actually sat with it for a while. I sat with that kind of desire and that, like hoping, or not hoping, but like seeing if it would pass.
Mm.
Because it's not that I was hoping it would pass, but I was like, I don't want to put time into something that I'm not going to do. Like I don't want this to be like a whim, right? And
Mm.
I'm very much like that. Like I'll see something and I'll get obsessed with it and I'll do it for, you know, months and I won't pick it up again. Like it's
Mm.
like I'm very impulsive when it comes to that stuff, which is great for acting actually because when I get cool stuff, I get to really dive in and really put as much as I can into it. Then you forget about it. Yeah, like I had that moment and I was like, oh no, like what am I gonna do? This is I can't do this. Like I can't drop all the school and I can't drop all the stuff. And I ended up having to figure out how it works, within the whole scheme of things. I love creating. I love the performance aspect of it. Like I really do like that. And as an introvert, as someone who doesn't do that all the time, it's something that I felt like I needed in a weird way,
Mm.
right? Like I had, and when I was going through this period of seeing whether or not the acting bug would leave, if that itch would like get out of the back of my head, um, I did some like background stuff, just kind of like poking around, seeing if it would be, how much I like, if it was just that set, if it was other sets, and it was just, it's, I've always been super creative. Like I play video games. I will spend hours on a character creator and then
Mm.
like, not, and like play the game, yeah, but like my favorite part is like actually creating stuff. And I think we spoke about this briefly, but like I love Dungeons and Dragons, which I got into like over the pandemic. Like it's, I love that creative aspect. And although music and arts and creativity are so big where I'm from, like I said, when I was growing up, it wasn't professions. Like people that like I didn't know people whose job was this. I didn't know people whose job was to just create, like musicians or actors and things like that. And it was a realization for me where it was like, wait, so I can do this? So something that like it's not something that I can just like watch and like see in a distance. Like I can do it. Oh, that's this is cool. And then it just opened this whole new thought process of like, how can I do it? How can I, you know, manage my practice around this? Like, not even around, but like have them work together, right? But yeah, it's ultimately it comes down to creating and being creative and having that outlet
Yeah.
for sure.
How did you learn about the business of it? Like, how did you learn what to do as an actor to be an actor?
Yeah, so it's honestly it comes from my obsessive personality. Like I told you, it was like short term sometimes, but when I got into it, like I binged as much content as I could about acting on YouTube and Google, and I just like I would go and go and go. One guy who has a great channel, Kurt Yu. He's a YouTube channel, and it's kind of like he literally just goes through the business of acting and like what he did, how he did it, what he does. He's based in Atlanta, and I watched all his videos in like a week or
Mm-hmm.
something. Like I just like went crazy on it. And then, talking to people as well. Like I didn't know many actors, but when I first came to Toronto, I served for a little bit at Jack Astor's downtown. And a couple of my friends who I worked with, I would just ask them, I was like, hey, just had this cool experience thinking about getting into acting. Like, what should I do? What can I do? Um, and for me, it was like, getting that YouTube content and kind of sifting through what's good and what's bad. Like, and you can kind of tell, like, it's tough to know for sure if you don't know anything about the subject, but you can kind of tell. And I got like a bunch of books, like, read some books, on like Meisner and Stanislavski, and just like, did as much as I could in that respect. And then talked to people, reached out and said, hey, what should I do? And it ultimately led me to my first class I took was a virtual class. It wasn't even virtual; it was just online. Do it at your own pace, and at the end, you perform for. It was called. They don't do it anymore. It's through Armstrong. I actually just finished a class. I love Armstrong Acting Studios. Um, it's called like Try It or something. Like they're. Uh, I forget what it was called. It was something like that. It was their online thing, and it went through it was I don't know if it was their introduction class, but it showed Dean Armstrong teaching the class, and then it gave you stuff to do at home. So like you had like homework and you would do it, and you would go come back to it, do it, and come back to it. It was so cheap. They don't have it anymore. I've tried to get people to like, hey, if you're interested, do this. It's $100 or something. It was so cheap, and it was like 54 lessons or something. Like it was nuts. And then at the end, you got to perform for Dean, and he would place you where he thought you would go, within the Armstrong Acting Studio curriculum or whatever. But yeah, for me, it was just like gather as much information as I could, and then sift through it and how I could make it work. And that kind of comes from the traditional schooling as well. Like research is something that people don't understand. It's thrown around a lot, but people don't understand it. And with acting, like the research is so fun. Like I'm not researching something to write a paper. I'm researching something to like, you know, pretend to be this cool character. So it's like, oh, how can I sift through all this stuff? How can I find and isolate different aspects of these real life people who do the thing and like how that can inform me to do the thing. Um, I'll give you an example. Like in recent history, I got this audition recently, and it involved like a performance demo. So I had to like try not to give anything away because it's still active. But there was a skill that I had to perform and show them, um, and it was based on a book as well. So I like obviously did all my prep for the audition, Went and got coaching at Armstrong, taped it, which I think is important too. If you can, getting coaching for tapes is awesome. I don't do it for all of them, but for the big ones I do, and go to wherever. But like having someone else look at your work, and I don't know, for me anyway, I really like working with people and getting the best out of it.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, so I got coaching, did the tape, rented a space to film the demo that I needed, bought the book, started reading the book, and like I'm almost done the book now. I submitted the audition last week, and then it's like it's a lot of work, but people are probably like, how can you do all that much work for for something you might not get? But it's like it's fun. Like it's better for me to do that, and it's fun for me to do that. And if I don't do it just because I might not get it, it's like I don't know. I probably wouldn't be as happy. Or like, let's say I do get a call back, and it's like, oh, you did all this stuff also. It's like, oh shit, that's like that's pretty cool. Like I love the research side of things, even for small roles. Like the first role I booked was pretty small. I mean, no small roles, whatever. But the first union role, and I did so much research on it. I had like pages and pages, and I didn't even have any like lines, but I was just like, it was like kind of like a period type thing. And I was like, I just want to know what it was like to be in that period when I'm walking and doing my thing. I want to have an idea of what it may have felt like to do that. Um, yeah.
It's so funny. Well, it's the blind faith, right? What we're
Yeah.
talking about before,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah, maybe no one will recognize the effort, the time, the energy, the money that got put
Mm.
into this audition that maybe will just go into the ether and never see the light of day.
Mhm.
But you know that. And I
Yeah,
think it does come through in your work. And you
for
have to
sure.
have the blind faith that it does come through, that
Yeah.
you've built this foundation.
That's something too that comes from, I was having this discussion recently when I was taping something with a coach. That kind of willingness and dedication to put the work in without immediate results
Hmm.
comes from athletes, from like an athletic background,
Mm.
right? Because for me, like when I decided I wanted to play basketball again, like I stopped playing basketball in like grade 9 or something because I got like cut from like a town team, like a Glace Bay, where I'm from, Glace Bay, Nova Scotia, Cape Breton Island, like a small place. Cut from like the town team. I was like, what the heck? Like, I'm gonna go. I was already playing guitar. I was like, I'm gonna go like join a band. Like I did like the band, in high school and stuff like that. It was a hardcore band. It was really fun to rock out on stage. Um, but then like I don't know, when I decided I wanted to go back to basketball, it was like every night. I put my basketball hoop under a street light outside, and I would have to be like forced to go in by my parents because it was like I wanted to do it. I knew I couldn't do it without being better. How do I get better? I just do it. Like, you go and you shoot the ball. You practice your for me post moves. Like I'm a big guy. Like you go out and you do things. And back then it was not pre-internet, but the internet was not what it is today, right? Like YouTube, there were no like YouTube tutorials on these things. Like you just had to go and do it. But for me, that hours and hours and days and weeks of dedication before something will pay off is like I wouldn't be able to not do it.
Hmm.
I can't not put that prep in. I can't show up to set or show up to an audition without having the prep done because I know that I'm not giving myself the best chance.
Mm.
I need to prep. I need to put in that work so that years down the road, when I get the opportunity to show it, I know that I have practiced it. I know I've done it. And confidence is huge. Confidence, for me anyway, in acting, it's everything. Like,
Mm.
you could do all the work, and if I don't show up confident, it's like, it's not worth it. It's just like, you just can't be there. If you're in your own head, you can't do it.
Hmm.
So for me, that prep and that work is necessary to create the confidence that I need to do it.
Mm. Mhm.
Right. And that's specific to acting. Like when we're talking about basketball or boxing, like, yeah, there's skills, and I mean there's skills that acting you need to build too. But for me, the reason why I keep going back to it, the reason why I work so hard at it, it's because of the confidence is necessary for me.
Hmm. I
And I
love
just
that.
can't not. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to not do it. Like, if I have the time, if there's a book available, why wouldn't I read it? Like, why wouldn't I? The worst case scenario, I read a book. Like, so what? Like, worst case scenario, I rented a place and did my skill demo. Worst case scenario, I now have a skill demo to if someone else needs it. Like, who cares? It's just time. Like, I view time as currency for
Mm.
sure. Put the time in, and because everybody has it. Not everybody has the money to take a ton of acting classes. If I could, I'd be in an acting class all the time. I would never not be in class. I love it. But like, they're expensive. But
Mhm.
you have time. And you have time that you can put into things. You have time that you can put into reading books or watching YouTube videos or even just watching movies and your favorite TV shows with a different lens. Watching them
Mm.
from as an actor's perspective as opposed to watching it as, a fan. Like, I
Mhm.
started doing that. Like, I would, I try to get up early. I try to like do something acting related, something stunt related, because I do both acting and stunts every morning. And one thing, like, I would get to a point where I'd be like, what am I going to do today? Like, I already went through all these resources, my list of things I want to watch or things or want to do or done. And then I'd be like, I'm going to put on a TV show that I want to be on and look at it and look at the acting in it. How do they do
Mm.
it? How do they do like, and that specificity, I think, also comes from having been an academic and an athlete, because you can't know everything about like any subject. Like, you just can't. You have to find what's specific about what you want to do or how you want to know something and really go in on it. And that helps for me. Like, and I don't want to, like, I'm an actor who doesn't want to just like play one role. Like, I don't want to be just the big guy and everything. It's like, and there's also people who are way better at it than me. Like, like I'm a big dude, but I'm not like a scary guy. And like most times in film, when they're like, oh, we want like a big bodyguard, they're like, okay, so we want someone who's like big and mean looking. And like, I just don't want to do that. And I want to be an actor. I want to take on different roles. I want to do different things, and that specificity kind of helps me with that, right? Like, I'm
Mm.
not just taking classes for the sake of taking class. I'm taking class with this specific goal in mind. I want to do this. I want to do that. So how can I do it? And
Mm.
then watching TV shows and coming up with your own style of doing it. Like, why not? Why not watch what you want to be on? And then that styles in your head, and kind of you're seeing how people act, and you're seeing how people do that, and then whether you take notes or however you prep, you put yourself on camera, like however you do it. And it's not mimicking that, but it's getting the tone. It's like, how do people in this genre that I love, how do they do it? How does it look? And then when you're auditioning for that type of stuff, you're already a leg up.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing advice. That's amazing advice. Do you have any favorite moments from your time on set? Any funny stories?
Um. So, Dark Side of the Ring. Um. That my favorite moment was the first moment where I was like, oh shit, like, I have to do this. Like, this is amazing. But we've already talked about that, so we'll talk about some other stuff. It's an awesome show, and there's so many like funny gags and so many funny things on it. Um, but it's just, there were, of the many roles I played on it, three of them had the most like ridiculous things that they asked me to do, and I was just like, every single time I went there, I was like, wait, what? I gotta do that? Like, okay, fine. Like, it is what it is. Like, it's funny. Like, we'll do it. But like, one of them was a story about a guy. I don't even think it made the final. I don't think it made the cut. But it was a story about a guy who took so many steroids that he had an erection for like 2 days. So so they had me like put like essentially a dildo in my pants and like go, ah, like scream with this like big fake erection. That was one thing. Second thing was they had me pretend to violently defecate in a garbage bag on a plane.
And this is all like based on true stories, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's a
Oh my
great
God.
show, and
Yeah.
wrestling was pretty crazy back in the day. And the other one, the other, like literally there were three of them, like one, two, three, and the other one was with uh, a cigar. So like there was a story where one of the wrestlers, there was a promoter who always smoked cigars, and one of the wrestlers didn't like the promoter, and he took the part of the cigar that was going to go in the person's mouth and put it down his pants.
Oh, jeez.
Right, so like those things, like it was just funny because for me, like I was like, okay, I'm gonna go do this fun thing, and it's like, oh wait, you're gonna have me do that, and then this, and then this. It was just like, it was like a funny like coincidence of having so many weird funny things um happen. Yeah,
Were you kind
it's a
of
great
like,
show though. It's a great show.
I can't believe this is my life right now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like this
for
was
sure.
never on my like life bingo card when I was in teachers college or Kairos school.
Yeah, and I'm still doing it.
It's
So
still
it's
doing it.
that was like 5 years ago.
If you're comfortable talking about, you have a unique job in the fact that you work as a chiropractor for the Lion King,
Yeah,
which is kind of a fascinating blend of two worlds.
yeah.
Um, Tell me about that. What's that been like? It's so unique.
It's been an amazing experience. Probably like, yeah, I mean, to be able to blend the two in such a unique way,
Mm.
I am super grateful for the clinic I work at for giving me the opportunity because it's through the clinic.
Hmm.
Higher Ground Health Clinic is what it's called in Toronto. But it was crazy because we got to go there. We're there every performance. Either me or one of the other physio is there working with them. We got to be there every single day for the rehearsal period. So they were
Oh,
rehearsing for like 2 month and a half, I think, or 2 months or something. We were there every single day. Not only were we like, was it okay for us to go around and like watch them do their blocking and like watch them figure this up. They wanted us to. They wanted us to be in as many rooms as possible, seeing the physical requirements of the show, seeing all these things. We got to see all the costumes, all the puppets. We got to like hands on anything that, I mean, I didn't get to because I'm so large, but anything that would fit, you could like put on and like, feel
oh.
how it felt on you. Um, because it's such a physically demanding show.
Hmm.
So like for me to be able to go there, experience all that. Not only do so many amazingly talented, successful actors never get a chance to experience those things from a show of that size, like it's also kind of like going to theater school for a short period of time and getting paid for it. Right? Like, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
there, I'm watching, I'm seeing them do it. Like, it's like, and when these, when you go see a show, you're in awe of the performers, obviously. But this was a situation where, yes, I'm in awe of the performers, but I know them outside of it. I know all of them as people, and it's
Mm.
like, all before that, it's like, oh, there's this pedestal, and again, this is probably just my small town mindset still kind of poking through a little, where it's like, there's this pedestal of like, oh wow, that's amazing, it's up there, like. I wonder if I could do that. Like, I wonder if I could do. I'm not saying I could be in the Lion King, but I'm saying like knowing the people and knowing those like their stories and knowing them as people, and
Mm.
then seeing them perform and seeing the different very iterations of their performance and seeing them try new things and mess up and create this like you know amazing character and seeing those things evolve. It really helped me as an actor for sure. It gave me, in a weird way, it gave me permission to be like, yeah, you can like mess up, you can do all those things, like whatever. Like these people are up there, they're on the stage, they're the peak. This is like one of the high like well-known most well-known productions in the world,
Hmm.
right? And it's I don't think it's a coincidence that when like I booked my first union job like while I was like with Lion King,
Hmm.
right? Like being around such talent on a daily basis, um, it helps you.
Yeah.
Like being around super talented people and like super down to earth people and amazing people. It's like, and that's also why acting class is so important. Like we talked about, going to class for building your skill set and doing it and getting used to the camera and stuff. But like you need to find and people and learn from people and see other people do it and see other people mess up. And because like, it's so common that for people who went to theater school and who went to like acting school and stuff to know that, like, it's like, oh yeah, but like, yeah, you mess up, you go in, you play, you try things, you do new things. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But like you were saying before, like, as someone who has been, or has been an academic and like wants to know what to do, what to like, you're not supposed to make mistakes. You're not supposed to, right? But it's okay when you're acting to make mistakes in certain things, right? And you got to build your community too. You got to build a community of actors and people who are doing it, especially for us as people who didn't go to theater school, because we don't have that bond that's created during being in the trenches at school, which we have for chiropractic and for medicine. Like you have those people who you did all these tough things with, but like we don't have it right out of the gate. You have to like go and create that in classes. But yeah, Lion King has been and is still like transformational with respect to how I think about acting and how in a weird way it's just like it adds to the confidence again. It's like you're talking to these people every day and you have conversations about acting, you have these things, and I'm always learning. Like I'm always trying to learn from all of it, right? Like whether it's the blocking on stage, or the dancers learning like one of the crazy dances that they do, or we're seeing all the costumes and how that impacts people's physicality and how they emote. It's crazy. It's insane to see. Yeah, it's been an amazing experience for sure.
So cool.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you are looking forward to coming up?
I'm in an episode of Twisted Metal coming out at the end of
Nice.
at the end of July. That was my first union gig.
So fun.
It was great. It felt really good to book it. It wasn't a role that like required my height in any way, so it's like cool to like book something just based on what you did, as opposed to kind of a look entirely, because they could have cast anybody in that role, and they cast me, which is great. And then I also I'm in a couple episodes as for stunts for Shoresy coming up. Yeah. So that's those are the two kind of fun acting things I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the summer just to kind of be outside more and take advantage of the sun, and the weather in Toronto is great. There's also some great summer's also super busy for film, obviously, in Toronto, so I'm excited to continue to audition and have fun things come up.
Heck yeah.
Do
you have any final words of wisdom or advice?
I think it's with acting, you got to find out how to do it. Like figure out how you can do it. How can you just like, how, for me anyway, how like to not have to rely on it for income, right? Like, and that's easy for us to say, and it's something that I don't even really think about, and it's really tough for a lot of people. But like, you just have to keep training, keep creating, and it might happen. It might, right? If you don't, it's not going to. But keep training, keep creating, and you just got to figure out how you can allow that. How can you keep training? How can you create an environment for yourself, financially and just time wise, to be able to do that, to be able to train as much as you can, to be able to keep creating as many things as you can, and then hopefully things work out.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Paul, for being my guest this week. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, caring for those incredible actors and athletes who are on stage doing The Lion King. Y'all, I saw the show. I've had the wonderful actor who plays Scar on this podcast, Salvatore Antonio. go see the show. It's just absolutely incredible. I mean, it's one of the best works of art this world has created in our lifetime. Wow, I'm being very hyperbole, but it's true. And I hope you all will tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye.